Welcome back. The Center for Employment Opportunities provides immediate, effective, and comprehensive employment services exclusively to people recently released from incarceration. They are dedicated to ensuring that justice-impacted job seekers have opportunities to achieve socioeconomic mobility. Here to share more about their work is the president of the Center for Employment Opportunities, Samra Haider. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, now, of course, I mentioned a little bit about the work you're doing, but talk to me a little bit more about the Center for Employment Opportunities and your mission.
Sure. CEO is really focused on helping people recently released from incarceration find employment. And we do that in a pretty unique way, is that we actually get them working. So we operate work crews across the city, across the country, that help people get back into the world of work in a more kind of comforting pace. We pay everyone every day, and we get them reacclimated to this cycle of work. And while they're working for us, we also get them ready for a full-time job outside of CEO. So our goal is really long-term attachment to employment.
Yeah. Now, of course, we are going to break down different campaigns that you have, but I do want to take it back to something that I think was very impressive for us to hear about, was that in April 2020, you did help and have an initiative in helping incarcerated and recently released people as well during the early start of the pandemic. Talk to me about those efforts.
Yeah, we were very concerned that people were going to be released and maybe would not be part of the stimulus program that was offered by the federal government. Also, CEO pays people to work, and we were worried with a lot of stay-at-home orders that immediate pay that we offer them would not be provided. And so we thought, what if we pay people sort of stimulus-like payments for a few months so that when they come home, they have some stability, they have some support, and they're not facing, economic hardship. And so we ended up distributing cash payments to our participants during that time in April 2020.
Yeah, now I have those numbers. It's under a program called Returning Citizen Stimulus Program, and you delivered 24 million in direct payments to over 10,000 people. Now, when you hear those numbers, obviously it's a big number that you're reaching, a big community. What was that initiative like to mobilize this huge effort?
It was incredible, and I think one of the things we realized is, yes, CEO participants are affected, but pretty much anyone coming home is affected. And so we really relied and leveraged our partner network of amazing reentry organizations that are providing different types of services. And so we ended up being able to provide their participants also with cash payments. That's how we were able to reach so many people and distribute so much money beyond just CEO's work. And an interesting fact about CEO is that we pay everyone every day, so we have a pretty sophisticated finance system, and so it was through that daily pay infrastructure that we were able to disperse the money so quickly.
Yeah, you talk about obviously engaging your partners in this effort. What was their response like? Even partnering with local organizations, the community, what was that kind of reaction?
I think at first they're like, really? We're going to get to do this? But I think it was just so appreciative because, we were all just worried about how vulnerable everyone was at that time. But in particular, our folks who we serve were particularly vulnerable. And so I think they just really received it well. And the great thing about that program was people received payments, but they also continued to receive supportive services from those partner organizations. And we targeted both cities that were large and we knew were having a lot of people coming home, but also cities that might have a special kind of circumstance related. So we didn't want to just pick big cities. We targeted 7 different cities that had different kind of nuanced needs.
Yeah, now, of course, with seeing the success of this program, anything that you would say RCS program has informed when it comes to public policy, when it talks about reinstating and kind of re-engaging in the community for recently incarcerated individuals?
Yeah, so we just released a study today that's found some really great impacts on parole violations in particular. And so when you think of reincarceration, a lot of that stems from parole violations, sometimes minor parole violations. I think in 2019, 40% of entries into New York prison was because of parole violations, and that can cost the state about $680 million based on a Columbia study. So what we saw in our study was that we were able to reduce parole violations in a 6-month period by about 46%. We were able to reduce violent parole violations by about 64%. And what's really great is with young people, their parole violations also reduced by 33%. So we saw on every measure, providing this cash assistance really helped to stabilize people and reduce some of those technical parole violations that cost the state a lot of money.
Yeah, now it's so important to even hear kind of those number breakdowns. And there's a campaign that I'm excited to talk to you about because I thought it was very shocking for me to see. But first, New York is already taking some bold steps. We have here that they're introducing the Reentry Assistance Bill. Talk to me a little bit about what that is and how can people kind of find out more about that.
Yeah, so depending on your commissary, you're probably leaving state prison with maybe $200 or less. And so what we're saying is that's just not enough to stabilize. When you come home, there are so many barriers. facing an individual, joblessness, housing insecurity, food insecurity. So this bill aims to provide about $425 per month for 6 months for people when they come home, just to allow them a little comfort, a little breathing room as they engage in effective reentry services.
Now, why would you say for people who may question this immediate financial assistance, after being recently released, why is it important?
It's important because, as I mentioned, when you come home, you really often are coming home to strained family situations, to no employment prospects, to having to meet with your parole officer. And so there's a lot in someone's way, and just giving them a little bit of money to maybe contribute to the family groceries, to help buy their children clothing, like that type of stability can just help someone able to engage better in then the services that they want to get long-term employment. So it just really helps to provide stability in an unstable time.
Yeah, now, of course, there's also this part as well of kind of just making people aware of the price tag behind incarcerating people and reincarcerating them. You have a campaign called At What Cost? Can you talk to me a little bit about that campaign itself?
Yeah, to your point, I mean, it's so expensive to incarcerate people, and that starts from policing to incarceration. And what's not shown is how effective and how cost-effective these reentry programs can be. And so what we're trying to do is shift the language from just putting people and locking them away to really thinking about what does helping people reintegrate back into society look like. And a lot of that is shifting the costs and the investment into effective programming.
Yeah, now as part of the campaign, there is a video attached to it where you ask these recently released people as well about what they would do with $1.2 million. And at first, we're hearing answers from nonprofit, giving it back into the community to help younger generations. And then at the end, you reveal that that's the price tag of what it means to incarcerate them. When you even heard their reactions to that, what was your immediate thoughts?
I mean, I think no one realizes it because even if you look at the basic costs, it's like, oh, it's so expensive. But then when you think about lost wages and healthcare costs, I mean, it really piles on. And so I think the reality of this broken system that we keep pouring money into that's actually not serving the purpose of what we want, which is for everybody to have a thriving life and have opportunity. And so that's really what we want to shift in terms of the thinking.
Yeah. Now, of course, with revealing and just being transparent about that number even, and in your findings, what are you finding is most shocking when it comes to the economic and social impacts as well that something like this has on people?
Yeah, I think it's just, the way in which things pile on. So I think I mentioned that 40% of people who have been incarcerated will experience unemployment. I think we have people who are 20% more likely to experience homelessness. We just have a lot of statistics where someone, all the other social factors that affect lots of people are more impacted when someone has a conviction. And so that's the kind of stuff that I don't think people realize, that it's already hard enough when you're released, that when you pile on and pile on, if our goal is to get people back into society in an effective way, what we're doing just isn't working.
Yeah. Now, of course, with having the information that you have now, how is that helping to engage lawmakers, policymakers, community members as well? Is it at all helping?
It is helping. And what's really great, especially in this time, is this kind of issue has really great bipartisan, a cross-section of support. Assemblymember Gibbs, as well as State Senator Cooney, are co-sponsoring the bill. We also have a lot of support from our other nonprofit providers who are part of the New York State Cash Coalition. So there's just a lot of support coming from a lot of different factions because, again, it does make a lot of sense. And I think when people, whether you think about it from a public safety lens or just a community impact lens, this makes sense to people that you want to invest in what works and invest in people's prosperity.
Yeah, now, of course, for people who are hearing there are programs like this that even community members can be a part of it. What would you tell them if they want to support returning citizens as well?
I think just building awareness of the issues. And again, if what you care about is your community, realize that people coming home need support. It could be offering up a job if you're an employer. It could be coming in and volunteering and providing mock interviews or resume help to some of the nonprofits who are helping people get back on their feet. But more importantly, it's just really thinking about someone coming home as not the crime they committed or the worst thing they've ever done, but really as being really engaged members of the community that we want to support.
Yeah, I think that's so important that you mentioned right there too, that they're coming back to be engaged members of the community. Now, if someone has dealt with that past and is kind of reintegrating themselves into society, what programs can they take advantage of, or is there anything that they can kind of look to kind of maybe potentially do a returning citizen program or anything else, you'd say?
Well, hopefully, we really try to engage our participants in this advocacy work for this campaign. So hopefully with their advocacy, we can get this passed and get that going to a lot of people. But there's great organizations, especially in New York City, obviously CEO, but you have the Fortune Society, Osborne Association. There's tons of really great providers out there. And so it's just a question of getting connected. But I would say New York, compared to other places, is really well resourced in terms of the reentry community.
Yeah, with that as well, Samra, with the work that you're seeing, obviously, since the pandemic, even till now, how do you feel about when you see, obviously, this impact that it's making to so many individuals as well?
I mean, it's great. I think my greatest joy at work is meeting participants who are just so appreciative and helpful and excited, and they feel a sense of hope. And they come to programs like CEO and really feel like they have advocates and partners in their journey, and oftentimes that hasn't been the case in the past. But there's really a supportive community, whether it's through other nonprofits or their community members themselves. And so I think just seeing that everybody has potential, and really when you give people the right resources and tell them you believe in them, they will do great things and they will be really amazing members of the community.
Yeah. You also mentioned, obviously, how people, hopefully in the long run, will be able to take advantage of different programs that you have going on. What is a long-term, maybe, vision or goal for CEO now after seeing what you've been able to achieve?
Oh, wow. I mean, so many things, but I think in particular, we're really looking to not just get people jobs, but get them on career pathways. How do we move people into jobs where they can be president of CEO? And oftentimes that's working with companies to make sure there's not exclusions in hiring or background check requirements that really keep people out. So I think it's thinking about all the ways in which we can really put people on a ladder towards prosperity.
Yeah. If people are interested in finding out more, where would you direct them? What can they check out?
So you can go to reentry.org to learn more about the broader reentry landscape, and then ceoworks.org/RCS will give you sort of more information around our cash campaign.
Amazing. Well, again, thank you so much, Samra. I think, one, it obviously demystifies this misconception that we have, but also adds this transparency and just obviously in a great initiative. So thank you so much again.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Now, to learn more about the services they provide, please go to their website at ceoworks.org. Stay tuned. We have more open for you right after this.